Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin and today we're going to have a very fun time here at the equinox to see what you are planting and harvesting this season. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who may be joining us here today on the channel. It's wonderful to have each and every single one of you here. So much gratitude and love as I have been really enjoying these videos that I've been putting out lately, even though they maybe haven't been as well received algorithm wise. I've been really enjoying just playing around here with different types of ASMR tarot readings and journal type tarot readings and looking a little bit deeper into tarot. So if you've been enjoying that, do let me know, and if there's videos you'd like to see in the future, I'd love to hear your feedback. But today, if you are here and ready and settled, we're going to be looking into the spring and fall equinoxes. So it doesn't matter what hemisphere you're in right now, southern or northern, we're going to be looking into all sets of it with both the spring energy and the fall energy coming through with the cards. I tried to use specific types of decks and all of that to really align those types of blooming and planting and harvesting and gratitude messages. So if you are settled and ready to go, we'll be starting to look at each of these piles here in a moment, but I do like to just let you know the different ways that you can really support this space if you're interested, as I do private snail mail readings where I send them to you in the mail and they're typewritten on a vintage typewriter. I only have one reading left for September, and after that it'll just move over to my October list for my mailing list, so you can check those out. But I think what's most important and what I want to bring up the most is the Mabon spell and ritual paper, as this is specifically aligned to, at least here in the northern hemisphere, the autumn equinox. So if you are interested in witchy, metaphysical, spiritual things and you want to look at more eco-friendly or art magic type of witchcraft, then this is a great opportunity for you. You can check out all of the information down below, but I've personally been using these papers for my own gratitude magic, for my own offerings, for my altar space, for abundance and prosperity, and I have already noticed a huge difference. And I made the papers, so sometimes it even surprises myself. That wasn't even a sentence, but that's what I mean. I was just so surprised and baffled by it. So if you're interested in this paper, definitely feel free to check it out down below. Seek out the different reviews and things. It'll all be there. And before I waffle on too much on those, as obviously they're my babies, I'm very excited about them and I hope you are too. We're going to go ahead and look at the piles here. So for each pile I did a very natural element. For the first one we have this piece of a arrowhead, and this arrowhead is in Obsidian. So if this resonates with you, then this is pile number one. For pile number two, we have this little botanical, I'm just going to call it the flowers or the berries, because to me they look like little flowers and berries in the same moment. I don't actually know what flower this is, but it just dried so gorgeous. So if this is your pile, then this is pile number two. And then last but not least, here for pile number three, we have this little half piece of a pine cone. Split down the half side of it. So that is pile number three. It also makes a really lovely sound, at least to me. So that is pile number three. So as always, before you start heading off to your piles, I invite you to take a deep and cleansing, useful breath here to really connect with your intuition and the piles, and just to take a moment. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose one pile, two piles, all three of the piles. You can change and flip-flop and see what you're planting and harvesting between each of them and see how they resonate for you. There really is no right or wrong way. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description, as well as within the chapter marks of this video. And as I mentioned, if you're interested in that Mabon spell and ritual paper, definitely jump on it, as there are only a few sets left. And I have all of the information down below on those, alongside my snail mail reading readings, the Kindred tip jar, and my Instagram community. And with all of that said, so many wonderful blessings here at the equinox to you, and we're going to go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this piece of obsidian in this arrowhead point, then this is the pile for you. When I was pulling this, I felt this feeling towards obviously direction, so we're going to see if that comes through with your pile today. But I'm going to set it over here so you can see it. We're going to be using the charms. We will be using the watercolor affirmations in a later video, but I don't really feel called to use them today. But we are going to use several different oracle decks, and instead of a tarot deck as our main, we're actually going to be starting out with this more botanical based deck of the Seed and Sickle, because it has both dawn and dusk meanings, which are perfectly aligned with the equinoxes and the idea of planting and harvesting. Something I want to get out right from the start though is no matter what hemisphere you're in, no matter what season you're currently about to head into, whether it's spring or fall, or maybe you're watching this at a different time, I just want you to keep in mind that at all times of the years, all times of the seasons, we can be planting things, we can be harvesting things, we can be planting something and harvesting something in the same moment. They can be interconnected or completely separate. So we're going to see how those either connect or separate here today for you. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started here with one card each for what you are planting and what you are harvesting. So feel free to get settled as always, get really comfy and cozy. This is the perfect time to just really chill out and allow these messages to come through for you. So feel free to send your energy in as always through time and space, and we'll look here first for what you have coming in. For what is it that you are planting? What are you intending to bring into existence to manifest? What are you planting at this time? Or what is something that you're being guided to possibly plant? Let's see what that is for you. Okay, so you have basil. Very fun. So what's cool about you getting basil here is the idea that basil talks about adventures or new adventures that you're heading on, but we tend to talk about adventures as if they are always physical or tangible things that we think about. So if you're planting something right now where you're wanting to go on a vacation, or you're wanting to start saving up for a vacation or something more physical, that could be what this is talking about. But for some of you, it's more subtle and less tangible, less definable as that. So some of you might be heading on a new transition in your life. Not necessarily that you're transforming like a butterfly, but just transitioning. So you're taking a path and kind of diverting sideways or moving a little bit differently. And that's why it feels kind of subtle, like it's just branching off in some way. And basil used to be given as a gift in, I believe, ancient times. I'm not sure when, but it used to be given as a gift to newlyweds or to someone off to university, or someone who for a housewarming gift, because basil was to help through a new transition in life, a new life stage per se. So right now you might be planting a new life stage into your life, or you might be diverging and bridging off into a new life stage. And this is showcasing that here for you, and the idea that you're seeing from a new perspective, a new idea, a new way than you did before. And it might even be that you're just noticing that you have branched off, right? And this has been coming up in a previous reading as well, the idea that sometimes we branch off and we don't realize until we're much farther from the branch that we even did. And that's how subtle it can be sometimes. So for some of you, you don't realize that you have been planting this maybe even for a long time, and you finally kind of noticed the changes and shifts and transitions that have been happening in your life. And now I think you're actively starting to make those plans and make those changes and to really set out on that branch and transition in a really wonderful way. But let's go ahead and look at what you are harvesting, and we'll branch off even further within each of these to see what more information we can gather. But let's look at what you're harvesting here, group 1. So what are you harvesting? Okay, so we have bracken. This always reminds me of a fern in the idea of branching off as well. But this could also be that what you're wanting to plant will come to harvest in that idea. Or like I said, these could be working together in the idea that you've noticed that branching off and you're finally noticing it. And that's causing you want to actually intentionally plant it versus where it was so subtle you didn't realize you did it. But beyond that, bracken also talks about the fern and the idea that there is, I'm pretty sure they're done more kind of spore-like. I'm not exactly sure, but there is this idea of this magical bean or this magical seed, and you can kind of see it at the very top of this card here. But it's always been in myth that there's this magical seed that grows all these ferns, and a lot of the time it's because we can't see it and we can't notice it, that again, that subtlety, that this card tends to talk about invisibility, escapism, or trying to look at something from like a different point of view and having to kind of see past the glaze of something that someone has kind of put over you. Kind of reminds me of like the invisibility cloak of some sort. So there's something in your life that you've been harvesting that again has been so subtle. It could be about this, but in general, there's just something in your life that you hadn't realized. Maybe you've been working towards so many like very tangible things that you hadn't realized that you'd been trying to build on something else underneath the layers, that you've been building on something this whole time and you hadn't really realized it or acknowledged the growth that you've had. And this is about wanting to harvest that growth, harvesting that you have these magical beans that you're growing within yourself, these magical seeds that you're growing within yourself. And I want to see more context with this for sure, because like I said, it's very mysterious, your pile. So we're going to look a little bit further. So let's pull 2 cards here for your planting message, and then we'll see 2 cards over here as well for your harvest. So let's see a little bit more information, moving back to the transitional period here with the planting of basil, and moving through a transition in a more informed way as well as what's come through for me, a more direct way. We have the definitely more informed. We have the King of Blades. The King of Blades is the like master of skills and the master of like really taking your time to harness your skills and mastery of skills of some sort. And in this case, it's about communication and logically thinking through something and understanding the bigger picture. They're really good at being very detail oriented as well as overarching. So I am getting this feeling of, like I said, you're finally seeing the full details of the transition that you're going through, so you can intentionally plant it versus just kind of following along. But let's see a little bit more here. Group 1, what are you planting in this subtle sense right now? What are you planting? Maybe what are these skills that could help you within this planting? So we also have the 7 of Blades, also known as the 7 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords is sort of a very mysterious card. Usually you tend to see someone sort of scampering out of a tent with all of these swords in their hands. They're fumbling with them, they're dropping some of them. They're not really being the best at sneaking away from this tent. But when you're looking at the card, you could see it as someone sneaking away from the tent, sneaking away with information that maybe they shouldn't have, or maybe you feel like right now you don't want everyone to know and get up in your business. You're kind of hiding or protecting this layer of this branch that you're heading on because it's a transition you want to do on your own, more independently is what I'm getting here, that maybe you want to start heading on this path more independently. And maybe that's where that mastery comes in too, with the idea of the king being more of a solo sort of message of wanting to just do this on your own and to learn something on your own because you're ready to take it head on, is what I'm getting, is the idea of head on thinking, right? It's going right through. So you might right now being at this transitional period, like I said, maybe you're moving in with someone, maybe you're moving out of the house, maybe your kids have grown up and you're going through a new life phase, and that way, whatever it might be, but I think you're wanting to move through it more independently and not have everyone kind of in your business about it. And so that's what's coming through, is this idea of needing to kind of get that out there and maybe communicate your boundaries about this if people are kind of getting in the way. So that's what I'm getting here, that people maybe want to give their advice and maybe it's not warranted or wanted right now. But as we move back to bracken or the fern over here with this, again, very mysterious. Your entire pile is very mysterious. There's a layer of that invisibility, of not fully seeing things clearly. So a lot of clarity is needed. So maybe being more clear about what you want to plant here, being more intentional, and then also being more clear about noticing how much you have grown could also be helpful in this planting process. So let's see what this bean is all about. So what is it that's been kind of invisible to you that you hadn't noticed in the past, that you have been harvesting, that you have been planting under the surface? Let's see. So we have the Six of Elixirs, also known as the Six of Cups. I did get this feeling of escapism and nostalgia. I was thinking of like the invisibility cloak for me. Reminds me of Harry Potter, which is very nostalgic to me. So for some of you might be kind of, maybe what you're kind of harvesting is taking a little bit of time to yourself as well. Is that maybe you felt like you needed to be go, be very productive, but you hadn't realized that you maybe had been reconnecting with yourself by taking a step back, and maybe that you could be harvesting more time for yourself right now, planting more time for yourself so you could harvest that idea, like again, this solo feeling, wanting to do something solely or more independently. It doesn't mean you can't have other people in your life or you have to be like completely alone or solitary, but there is this idea of needing to sort of sort something out on your own, and it might have to do with something that's more nostalgic or makes you feel more nostalgic in some way. And since you're moving into a new life phase too, you might be harvesting your previous life phase, and the idea that you're noticing that you've moved on from one. And so what you're harvesting is the memories and the ideas, and like for me, like I'm kind of moving out of a life phase from where I was at university a few years ago, and now I'm in this place, and now I've realized how much I've branched off. And when I look back, you know, there is a little bit of that sadness that you can't fully see everything from that previous life phase as crisply and cleanly anymore, but it's still just as impactful and important in your own growth, and it should be celebrated. So let's go ahead, or at least acknowledged. So let's go ahead and see your final card here on your harvesting side, group 1. Okay, and then we'll look a little further as always. So you also have the 10 of coins. The 10 of coins usually represents completion. Whenever we see 10s, something coming full circle, completing something, and usually in something possibly relating to something that is very tangible. So we're going from this invisible idea and taking something that used to be very tangible in your life that now is just like a memory or in a dream, or it feels like, wow, did that ever even happen? I've completely forgot who I was when I was this person. There's that feeling, right? Like that you've kind of maybe lost touch with that part of yourself, and maybe you could harvest more time reconnecting with that side of yourself. Maybe it's a skill that you learned. Like I said, for me, it was who I was at university versus who I am now. Could be you with your kids at a certain life phase versus you now. Maybe you're moving up in some way, but that previous person that you were still needs your attention, still needs your time, and still needs your and you still need them, right? Like you don't have to put them entirely aside. There's something about that coming through, that idea that you don't have to, just because you've completed something in your career, in your life, and whatever that stage previously was, still holds a place in your life now, but maybe in a different way than previously before. How many times can I say previous? But like, you get what I mean, right? It's just recognizing and giving more acknowledgement to how far you've come, and that person still requires a little bit more thought in your path moving forward, and kind of wants to give their assistance. So let's go ahead and see one card on each of these with this little oracle deck, just to give us a little splash of flavor here at the end for both what you're planting and harvesting. And then we'll get a message here in the center of what advice you have coming through within the whole spread. So let's go ahead and see this card for what you are planting. And I might as well see what you're harvesting too. I'll pick that one up in a second. So this one is for harvest, and this one is for planting. Interesting that this one came upside down. So we have forgiveness. A crushed flower still gives off a sweet scent, and so it could be that you're forgiving yourself for not noticing, or forgiving yourself or someone else, and maybe this life stage has been a little bit rocky for you, and there might be a need to kind of seek out forgiveness from someone else, or to forgive yourself for maybe not finally taking this path, or maybe waiting it out as long as you did. However it resonates, but that's coming through. Like I said, a crushed flower still gives off a sweet scent. And then on this side, we had potential. The littlest key can open the heaviest door. So like I said, I did feel the more that we went through your reading, this heaviness that's coming through. because whenever we're moving through such a big transition, it can be very heavy to kind of navigate, especially when it wasn't under circumstances that you were hoping for. But there is still potential to take in here and potential to come back to, and to maybe there's just memories that are resurfacing that are quite difficult, but might be worth and have a lot of potential for you to grow moving forward by looking back at, if you are ready and would like to. So we have potential. The littlest key can open the heaviest door. So like I said, lots with transitions. There's a lot of potential to look back into the past and use that as a skill, or use that as a momentum for this transition moving forward. But let's go ahead and, before we finish off the reading with the charms, pull one last card here. And if you are enjoying this reading so far, definitely be sure to give this video a like. I'd really appreciate it, and let me know your thoughts, as I did do this reading 6 months ago, and I'd be interested to see how they parallel. But yeah, we're going to finish off here before the charms with a advice card from Spirit. So this could be from gods, goddesses, from your own angels, from your guides, from any spirit that you work with, your higher self even. So let's see what you have coming through from them. Feel free to send your energy in. What advice do they have for you moving forward, for both what you're planting and what you're harvesting here, group? Ooh, interesting, group one. So like I said, there's a bit of a heaviness to this, in the idea that you got the Hierophant. The Hierophant does talk about tradition, sticking to tradition, sticking to, it kind of is the anti-idea of branching off. And I don't think that they're telling you not to continue to branch off, but the idea that maybe you have to challenge a part of yourself, and you have to challenge tradition, challenge how things have always been done, or you're being currently challenged to look from a new point of view, from what you've been previously taught about yourself, about who you can be, how far you can go, how you can interact with others. There is some sort of challenging there, and I think that they're telling you to take that head on again, and to welcome sort of rebelling against tradition in some way, your own personal traditions, and see where they take you. So like I said, we're going to be finishing off with the charms, so feel free to send your energy into them, and we will cast them on top of the cards and get those last little details. Let's go ahead and look into them. So group one, what are you planting and harvesting? Okay. So let's see what showed up for you. I'm going to zoom you in this way. So what we have going on here are a few different things. We have the pawn showing up here on your planting side. Forgiveness is showing up for me most with this one, and the idea that, like, there might be someone in your life that's wanting you to stick to, like I said, like you're maybe wanting to go on a solo mission with this, so it's probably someone in your life kind of pushing against that. Like I said, wanting you to stick to tradition, or someone in your life in that way, because we do have the pawn here, and it does mean that either someone is trying to use you as a pawn, right? Sometimes we create boundaries, and the people who push back against our boundaries are usually the people who are benefiting from whatever it is that they're getting on the other side of the wall that you're putting up. So what is it that they're benefiting from? Maybe they need to understand that this is more important than whatever they would benefit from on the other side. Maybe a conversation needs to be had there. And then also forgiveness is giving me the idea that maybe you need to forgive yourself for maybe needing to move past this person, or they need to forgive. There needs to be like a conversation that happens there between the two of you in some way, if this is resonating on that level. On the other side, we have the silver lining charm, but it doesn't really feel too connected, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back. But we do have the transitions or transformations charms, but this one specifically relates to my childhood, and it was open. So it's like I said, you're opening a box of a can of worms in some way, not necessarily to childhood, but to some sort of nostalgic memory or past version of yourself is definitely coming through, and it's opening something you felt like you closed off, but it's coming back up to the surface, and that there is potential for a lot of growth in you to harvest if you feel comfortable enough to take on the messages that are coming from the other side of that door. On the other end down here, for your last final charms, we have the listening or not listening charm, because we have the headphones, which means you kind of have your headphones on, you're kind of like in the zone, focus, that kind of thing, but you're not necessarily listening to maybe spirit that's coming through, because we have this little angel here. If you have any sort of guides, it doesn't have to be angels, just in general, they're coming through with this specific coin. It says the DeSoto Caverns and I love you on it. So it could be that it could be a past loved one as well, that has maybe moved on, or you just don't see them as often, but there are signs and signals coming through from them that they're trying to get out to you right now. So definitely listen out for them in relation to what you're harvesting. So with all of that said, those are all of your charms and cards here today. I hope you did enjoy. Like I said, you had a very mysterious, it took us a little while to get there, so I hope that you enjoyed. Sometimes it takes a minute to excavate the messages for all of you, but I hope that you did stick through and found a little bit of useful information and took some time for yourself here today. I'm very grateful for you to have done that for yourself. And I hope you did, like I said, enjoy. If you did, let me know in the comments down below how it resonated, and also with a like on this video. It really does help the channel. You can also check out more of the videos that I have on this channel with love, spirituality. I even have more for the spring equinox that I did way back for me over in the spring 6 months ago, if you want to see how they resonate. But all you have to do to see those is to subscribe and check out the other videos. You can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below, as it's a great way for me to get some new decks and supplies, new charms and things like that, which I definitely have some on the way, so I hope you guys get to see them here soon. I'm definitely going to have a new one in the next reading, so stay tuned for that. And you can also check out the snail mail readings that I do, as those are sent to you in the mail. You can check out any kind of question or query that's on your mind. I only have one slot left for September, so if you want that, then definitely jump on it. And also you can check out the Mabon spell and ritual paper, which is perfect for the equinox. It's made for the equinox, but you can also use it beyond and all the way into fall. So you can check that out down below in the description as well. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today and seeking out these messages for yourself. I truly do appreciate it, and I hope that your spirit appreciates it too. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose these little berry flower looking things, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set them down so you can see them during your reading over here today, as we are going to be using the charms. We're also going to use several different oracle decks, and we're going to be using, instead of a tarot deck, just like I did in the last video I did 6 months ago on what you were harvesting and what you were planting, I decided to use the Seed and Sickle oracle deck to start us off instead of a tarot deck, and I want to stick to that because it's been so useful and helpful. And I personally went back to check out the reading that I did the last 6 months ago, because I wanted to see how I set it all up and everything, and I actually found things aligning for me in the reading itself, which I always find really bizarre when you're getting a reading from yourself from the past through these videos. So anyway, jabbering on, I just wanted to preface and remind you that just because you're in the southern hemisphere in the spring right now, or over here in the northern hemisphere with the fall, doesn't mean you can only, resonate to the planting or harvesting messages. They could be intermingling, they could be intertwined, they could be very separate. They could be talking about something you harvested like 3 months ago, or something that was 3 years ago. Just see how they resonate and see what comes through from spirit for you, and be open to what comes through, because I think that'll be most useful to you. But before I just jabber on, let's go ahead and get started. I'm feeling very chatty today. Feel free to send your energy in through the cards, and we will start first with what you are planting. What intentions are you trying to plant into the universe and manifest right now here at group 2? So what is it that you are planting? Group 2, what are you planting? Could be a concept, could be something very tangible. What are you planting? And you can't decide which. I'm gonna go ahead and just think it's this one. So we're going to see about that. So let's see what you got. All right, so we have the poppy plant. As you can see, it doesn't always look like the nicest thing to plant, as you can see with the skull sort of showing up in the center here. It is in the spring suit though, and it is the number 6. Poppies do have a lot to do with grief and of little deaths in our lives, and the idea of like grieving through not necessarily major big things, but sometimes we need to plant our grief and give ourselves time to grieve something, to move through the emotions of something. It doesn't necessarily have to be the emotion of grief, but you might be moving through something. I'm also feeling this feeling towards the skull and the idea of like, and I don't know if it specifically is to poppies, but just the idea of like looking beyond the surface of your skull, right? Looking to the brain, looking to your nerves. There's something like very physical that's happening, but I'm feeling almost in like carpe diem vibes, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like you want to be grounded in the present moment. Like you want to be able to really feel what you feel, understand how you feel, and work through that in some way. Like you're almost wanting to be more emotionally intelligent with yourself. And I think that requires needing to be able to step into the present moment regardless of how you're feeling, and just understanding your emotions versus judging them. So versus like say you were feeling very angry at something, or very frustrated, right? That can cause us to feel sometimes blaming ourselves. Why am I so frustrated? Why do I feel so angry? Where is this coming from? Blah, 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 kind of like, and directing and projecting either that anger on someone else. It doesn't have to be anger here, but just as a place word, that emotion on someone else or back at yourself. And instead, it's about investigating where the anger comes from, understanding from a very objective point of view versus subjective, trying to just understand your emotions and maybe work through it with someone else too. But I just feel like this feeling of grounding, maybe you're planting presence, mindfulness, and more emotional intelligence is what I'm getting here from Poppy. But let's go ahead and see the next one too. There is this idea of momentum that I'm getting as well. So we're going to investigate this even further. So don't worry, we'll look even more. But let's see what you are harvesting as well, group 2. So what is it that you are harvesting? So this could be an idea or something very tangible, a concept. But it could also be connected to this previous message with the poppy. So we have the alder, which definitely connects. The alder is sort of and specifically anger usually comes through with alder, but it's the idea of communication. As you can see, they are trying to communicate in some way. You can see them communicating outwardly, but alders are very well known, I believe, as being like lightning rods. They're very much related to fire and to anger and to explosiveness and to impulsiveness. And so what you might be harvesting right now, and like I said, we can always have less ideal harvests in our lives. We don't always have to be planting something that we might plant something and hope that it'll harvest in one way, but it kind of goes another way. And so maybe the reason why you're wanting to plant right now emotional intelligence is because in the past you've been harvesting many times over from your planted crops that just aren't coming out in the way that you're hoping for. Like, it's not the most ideal harvest. So I kind of want to read for whatever reason on alder for you. By the way, the numbers are 6 and 43. This is in the winter suit and the spring suit, in case I didn't mention it. All right, so I wanted to read this to you just so you could understand a little bit more about what I mean with the alder tree. You can pause if you want to read through that yourself, but it does say, and I'll hold this up for you, it does say, drawing this card is a warning that a conflict is on the horizon, although this is what you're harvesting, so it could be something in the past. Alder charcoal ignites quickly and was historically used to manufacture gunpowder and other explosives. Even the tree itself is said to be responsible for starting heated arguments. When tension does occur, try not to retaliate. A quarrelsome reaction will only make things worse. Try to play the mediator instead. And that's totally what I was talking about with poppies, the idea of becoming more emotionally intelligent, but possibly also working on your skills here so that you can harvest a better crop in the future when it comes to how you communicate with others and communicate with yourself, and maybe how you even talk. Like, I almost feel like it's not necessarily how you project on other people, but maybe how you're projecting on yourself right now, and how maybe you're the narrative within your mind, how you're speaking to yourself within your mind is causing a little bit of that conflict to continue to spiral. So I want to look a little bit further here and see maybe the reasons why, and maybe where you're moving forward, or how you could plant a better crop this time around. So let's see what that is here for you. So we'll start off with 2 cards on this side and 2 cards on this. So first, feel free to send your energy on maybe your intentions of what you're planting here regarding Poppy. Group 2, Poppy. What do you have coming through for what you are planting? A little bit more information on this. Mindfulness, emotional intelligence, understanding. So you got the 6 of Coins and the 4 of Blades. Very useful energy to have. The 6s in general represent, and I'll hold these up so you can see them, but they represent harmony, or represent something coming back into balance, harmonizing back together, where 4s represent rest and taking time off. So what I'm getting is, like I said, instead of kind of, not necessarily that you're not allowed to feel your feelings, but that maybe it's how you express your feelings, taking a little bit more time to pause, to meditate on it, to really think it through, take some time to rest and maybe write out your feelings, or find another way to channel them versus projecting them back into yourself, to create more harmony in your life, your harmony within your relationships, harmony within the way you speak to others. There also is a lot to do with, like I said, the way your words create an impact. Whenever we see the coins, they represent earthly things, and this represents the air, the way we communicate. So when you put those two together, that earth and air, it's about how you can create more stable communication in your life, more harmonious communication. If you think about people singing in harmony, you know that there isn't the dissonance there. Instead, it's very harmonious. And so where there was dissonance before, you might be working on that. And that does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of reflection, a lot of journaling, a lot of understanding. It takes researching. Communication, I feel like we forget sometimes, is a skill. It is a skill we have to learn. Children have to learn how to communicate their needs, communicate how they're feeling, and that takes a lot of time. You know, we have to go all the way through so many different life stages to even be an effective communicator. So to being able to not only communicate well, but also communicate emotionally really well is another thing on its own. So this is definitely a worthy thing to plant, and it's definitely going to take a lot of time, skill, research, and understanding of yourself on a psychological level, understanding other people's needs as well, and how you can come together. So that's what I'm seeing coming in with Poppy, but let's see what we have over here on your harvest side of things. Oh, and I just noticed, yeah, like I said, we had the number 6 down here, so you have 6 coming up twice over here, so a lot of harmony as an opportunity for you to plant in this realm. So let's go ahead and see this side with the 4 and 3 being half of that 6, so again, maybe more individualistically oriented, maybe not seeing both sides of the coin, but we'll see more here. So more to do with alder. What else is coming through with alder in what you are currently harvesting or have harvested in the past? Okay, so we have more coins. This time we have the 7 of coins. So we're just slightly off balance. And then we also have the 5 of elixirs, which does usually represent some sort of conflict, usually within yourself. And it also represents a sort of focusing on the wrong thing, or not necessarily the wrong thing, but the less useful thing, I would say. So what you might be communicating right now, maybe you're wanting to use catharsis, like whenever you're feeling upset, like what the skills that you've learned is basically what you've harvested right now. And the skills that you've harvested in the past are not really working for you anymore, and that's why you're maybe wanting to make this change. But the reason why they weren't working for you is what you were focusing on before. As you can see, all of these bottles and their different names aren't really all that great, but then if you look at the one just behind here, it says joy, and then the other one has like it's like a love potion. So the idea that you are kind of having to stick with, or maybe you feel like you have to stick with these same sort of toxic ways of thinking is why maybe you're wanting to get out of it, because you're noticing it now. And the 7 of coins usually represents an idea of kind of feeling stuck or stagnant in some way. You've built something up, but you kind of got stuck somewhere, and that building isn't really going anywhere anymore. Like, you're building up emotions, but they're not really, or you're feeling cathartic and you want to like throw paint at the wall or rage out to a song or do something else to cope through it, but there's something that needs to be addressed, needs to be communicated, needs to be rather than projected, actually said. And that's what's coming through with this harvest, and the idea that maybe you have a lot that's building up, but the way that you've been coping through it just isn't working for you anymore, and you're finally starting to notice that joy and other ways of thinking are on the horizon for you. And that it's going to take work, and it's going to take a lot of inner work, and maybe even seeking out help in some way, if that's accessible and possible to you, because I think that would really benefit you right now. Definitely more on the heavier side, but not necessarily, like, I don't think that it's out of your reach. So let's look a little further. We're going to pull one more card for each side, and then we'll pull an advice card and the charms. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, definitely be sure to let me know by giving this reading a like, or this video a like. It really does help the channel a lot, and it lets me know that you enjoyed the reading so far. So let's go ahead and see what you have coming in for a little bit more information on what you're planting here, group 2. With that communication, with those skills, maybe we'll get a little bit more over there. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and see your harvest one too. We're looking for one for your harvest side with the alder, the 7, 4, 3, and 5. Okay, so let's see what you got on each side. So over here we have persevere, leave no stone unturned. So it is going to be, like I said, there's a lot you're still needing to build your skills within, and each one is going to build up and up and up and up and help you along the way and become less heavy. It's going to become easier the more you work through this, and the more that you create these conversations with others. The first conversation is always the hardest when it comes to trying to help yourself or help others or understand another person's needs. If you haven't done that before, or you're maybe not as good at communicating with a certain person or communicating with yourself in this way, but each one, persevere through it, because it does really seem to be something that's going to be worthy of your time in the end and of your skills to grow within. So let's see the alder side with harvest. We have dream. Ooh, interesting. Have a cup of tea in the garden and find yourself in a good book. So it can also be that, like I said, you're starting to see other things that could be enjoyable in your life. And this was even talking about needing to plant the idea of meditation, mediation, of mindfulness, lots of M's coming through. So dreaming is also showing up here. So maybe what you feel like this is so out of reach, like it's something of a dream, that it's like, yeah, that maybe one day I hope that would happen. That sounds great in an idealistic world. And the thing is, yes, some things are idealistic for sure. It's not always easy as the fairy tales tell us, but it doesn't mean that it's outside of our reach. I think that nothing is entirely impossible, but it does create there could be a lot of rifts, there could be a lot of, jumps and bends in the river to get there, but I do think it's still possible for you. And so maybe what you're harvesting is you're realizing that this can move from a dream and into reality for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and get your final card here, and then we'll be pulling the charms. But this one is going to be specifically a message to sort of bridge the gap between both what you're planting and harvesting, although they've been very connected so far, to seek out a message or of advice. Sorry, my words are fumbly today. Of advice from spirit. So this could be from your higher self, a past version of yourself. It could be from any guides that you work with, gods, goddesses, however you see it. But we're going to go ahead and pull one for them, or from them rather. Oh my goodness, or maybe two, we'll see. Of course, you've got the King of Cups. The King of Cups is alongside everything else you already have over here. Very emotionally intelligent. They're the top of their emotionally intelligent sort of suit, alongside the Queen. And then you also have the Fool, which is all about jumping in, really having to make a splash and having to really believe in yourself and believe that it's worth the effort, even though you have no reason to think that it would work this time around. You could have lots of reasons to say why it wouldn't work, because like I said, you may have harvested this many times in the past. But there's still a possible future here for sure, and they're showcasing that to you, that there is definitely still more on the horizon for you, and there's definitely still more to explore here. And to allow yourself to become more emotionally intelligent in that way too. And when I say that, like I said, it comes from a lot of skills in learning how to communicate with others more effectively. And there's lots of videos and lots of people that you can look and seek out beyond this video to start seeking that out for yourself. So we're going to finish off with your charms here. Feel free to send your energy in as always, and we will seek out the messages for harvesting and planting for you, group 2. Okay, not too many. This is the one I was feeling right off the bat, and it just sort of flew itself off, so maybe it wasn't needed, but in case any of you needed to see this, this usually talks about sort of self-love in some way, or loving yourself a little bit more, but it needing to be sort of, again, that perseverance, that building up. So that's what I'm getting from that charm, but I will zoom you in so you can see everything else a little bit further and a little closer. We have the little lobster claw over here, and it usually represents like an opportunity that's sort of clawing itself on, or you wanting to really kind of click yourself into it, like click it, like it makes me think of like you're clicking yourself into your seatbelt. You're really putting yourself in that driver's seat to have something happen, and that you're really, once you start this, you are going to persevere, that you are going to really set sail on this. And it's definitely a golden opportunity for you in the terms that like right now is maybe really good timing wise to start on this, because we have the silver lining charm, so silver and gold showing up with persevere, and then we also have the strength that comes through from the safety pin here, the golden safety pin. So this is feeling very safe, also creating more safe places to talk to other people. So like I said, if you have people in your life that are feeling very toxic and creating this spin in your life, right, and is causing this to continue to keep happening, which is, you know, why toxicity happens, right? It's when we are constantly reintroduced to the thing that's continually creating toxins in our blood or in our body. So in that same sense, there could be someone who has toxic communication, and that's maybe why this is continuing to be a sort of projecting back at yourself. So part of this could also be persevering, needing to step away from that person, getting a little rest from that person to create harmony within yourself. Because you also have the mirror charm showing up here, and it is the mirror of the idea of like when you look in the mirror, right, you're seeing yourself fully. But this also can talk about just the idea of like finding more harmony, because you're not seeking out approval or ideas from anyone else too. And maybe it also talks about self-reflection, so harmony coming through in that way, and listening to what your bones have to say, and listening to like what your intuition is telling you versus other people kind of projecting their perception of you on you in a toxic way. We also have over here on the Fool the Haya charm, and they're holding like a little rose right down here, and this was fallen this way, which showcases that like you maybe don't need to be talking to someone to make this happen. When you look at the Fool, and we have more on sort of self-love here in regards to that same mirror message, the Fool usually showcases this little dog, I couldn't think of what they were called, this little dog, which usually is like, no, don't go, don't jump, don't do that, don't believe in yourself, don't do that. And it's kind of like that little chattery box in your head, and or someone else in your life that keeps trying to say hi, trying to pop into your life and kind of steal the bloom that you're trying to plant. So since it fell this way, it's just a reminder and sort of a advice to maybe need to either create better communication with this person, and or maybe you need a little space from this person to create a little bit more of a boundary with them while you work on your own healing. On top of that, over on this side, we have the last two charms and they're both silver, which I find interesting, silver and gold. Like you're almost there and you're heading towards the gold. You have faith, And so maybe this relates to faith, to spirituality, to religion in some way, but faith was upside down, showing up over here on that idea of stagnation, like I was talking about earlier. And so maybe you don't feel like you have a lot of faith in yourself, or faith in the process, and that leap of faith is going to be most important for you to start. And then you also do have the key to your heart, though, so it does seem like this is really important to you, and maybe that's why sometimes the things that we hope for and dream for the most, and you did have dreams, are the hardest ones to climb, are the hardest ones to actually start on, because they're more vulnerable and you don't want them to fail. So maybe dropping down some of your expectations a little bit on yourself and just starting from the beginning is going to help you. So those are all of your cards and messages here zoomed out for you so you can see the more holistic view of everything. If you did enjoy this reading, do let me know in the comments down below, as I did this reading 6 months ago, and I'd love to see if there are parallels between your two piles, if you're going into completely new directions. I would love to hear that down below. You can also check it out or let me know by giving this video a like. And as I mentioned, I have that video, but you can check out many other videos that I put out every single Monday on this channel for your own self-growth and empowerment, for learning more about yourself, understanding yourself from many points of view within love, spirituality, your own career, and many other things. So you can check all of that out down below, or subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the future uploads. You can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below, as it's a great way to support this space. And you can also check out my Instagram community down below to see all of the different ways in which you can interact with this channel beyond just YouTube, and through the different ways you can support it and support yourself through the snail mail readings that I do. And I currently have the Mabon spell and ritual paper out for the autumn equinox, so if you want to be even more within this autumnal energy, if you are on the northern hemisphere, then this is a great way to play around with it. I've personally been using these papers myself, which I don't always tend to do because sometimes there just aren't enough to both sell and use myself, but if you are interested, I still have quite a few sets left. I've been finding them to be super helpful in my own manifestations and honestly blowing my own mind. So feel free to check all of that out down below in the description. There are a few left, and they can be used beyond the equinox and all the way into the fall season. So feel free to check all of that out down below. And I do believe that is everything. Instagram, subscribe, like, comment, and I hope that you got something out of this video. Thanks for hanging out here with me. So much gratitude and love to you all, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this little half piece of a pine cone, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down here so you can see it during your reading here today, as we are going to be using the charms. We aren't actually going to use the watercolor affirmations, but we are going to use several different oracle decks, including the Seed and Sickle oracle, which I used 6 months ago when I did this reading back at for me, the spring equinox. So depending on which equinox you're about to head into, whether it's fall or spring, I really wanted to bring in both those dawn and dusk meanings that you get with this specific deck. So we're going to actually start with an oracle deck versus starting with a tarot deck like I typically do. And I do just want to preface and let you all know that no matter which side of the hemispheres that you're currently on, no matter if you're heading into fall or into spring, you don't have to align with only the harvest message if you're in the fall, or only the spring message if you're in the spring. We can plant and begin again at any season. We can harvest something at any season, and sometimes they intermix, which so far the last two piles have definitely intermixed, but yours might be very separate, so we will see. But before I jabber on anymore, feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and we will get started here today. Feel free to get settled and all of that, and let's see what first you are planting. Let's pull one card for what you are planting this season. What are you planting? So we have wisteria, such a beautiful plant. It's so it's one of those plants that I feel like look like they should be sorrowful, just like a willow tree looks like it should be sorrowful, but it's really just super graceful in the way that it sort of lays and dangles. So that's what I'm getting here, is this grace, or this feeling of delicate gracefulness. I don't know how to explain it, like a decadence almost. We have the number 4, and this is in the spring suit. So this can talk about timing for some of you. 4 representing also the idea of structure or something coming to sort of like a nice clean point, almost like you're getting to the point of something. What else that I'm getting here just intuitively from this card is the idea of maybe wanting to work with others, or this also can talk about reconnecting with yourself and your own trust in yourself and your abilities. So maybe what you're planting is trusting in yourself right now, because wisteria is one of like the last flowers to bloom in the spring, and it's not because it doesn't get peer pressured. It doesn't want to do things on other people's time. They want to grow when they're ready to grow, when the season is ripe for them. So again, like I was talking about at the beginning, you might be planting something in the harvest season, even though it's not stereotypically the right time to be doing that, the right time. It might be the right time for you, whatever feels right. So there's this intuitive sense and this like standing on your own and doing your own thing, whilst also having others respect that. That's what I'm getting here, this idea of like respecting yourself enough to just go on your own way without being pressured by others, even if they have the best intentions in mind for you. So we'll get more context on what that is about, but just in general, the concept of trust and self-trust and reliance on yourself is coming through. So let's go ahead and see what you are harvesting at this time. Group 3, what are you harvesting? Group 3. Okay, so we have belladonna. The number 20 is showing up here. This is in the summer suit. And belladonna here usually talks about feeling a little like knotted up. If you look at the belladonna plant, it can kind of look very knotted up. It reminds me of knotweed in a way. As you can see, this like a chicken is sort of, I think it's a chicken or a hen or some sort of bird, is wanting to cut some of this off. And it almost is making me think, yes, you're harvesting what you're planting, but maybe you can also learn from your harvest in the idea that maybe you planted too many things. So yes, there are a lot of beautiful things that you've maybe been planting lately. Maybe you've been doing a lot in your career. You've been growing a lot in your own self-growth. Maybe there's been really beautiful skills you've been learning, things you're doing with your family, going out on outings, doing these other things, and it's just building up and up and up and up and up. And these are beautiful blooms to have, yes, but maybe something you can learn from your harvest in general is just that maybe you don't have to go so hard or so quick, or like, pedal to the metal kind of feeling. So what I'm getting is that it's not that you can't enjoy your harvest. Definitely enjoy it. You've put a lot of hard work in, and you definitely deserve everything that you've been working towards. You could create bigger blooms or more blooms that have more room to grow when they aren't as knotted up or twisted on each other. So that's just something to keep in mind. But let's look a little bit further with the rest of this to seek out a little bit more here. I forgot to put the cards back over here. But let's go ahead and seek out your next 2 cards over here and over here. So we're going to pull some more information using tarot now. So feel free to send your energy in relation to wisteria and what you are planting. Interesting that they fell on the other side. I think they just fell. Let's go ahead and look a little further though. Wisteria, what are you planting here, group 3? What are you planting? And how does it relate to wisteria and this idea of self-reliance, self-respect, self-trust, and all of that? So, interesting. We have the Page of Elixirs coming out here first, and then underneath that we have the 5 of Coins. And I feel really called to this specific coin in that it almost looks like it's kind of like someone telling you like, oh my gosh, okay, it makes me think of like a generational gap. Maybe you have someone in your life right now that's trying to push against you in what you're wanting to grow right now, because their perspective is kind of like something of the past, and it's kind of like when like a grandma would be like, you know, you're gonna rot your brain playing those video games or something like that. Like, it feels like it's just like their idea of what you should be moving into, or even your personal past idea of yourself and what you should be moving into is changing and shifting. And what you're wanting to plant is maybe coming from this really youthful, fun, new, exciting place. And it could be something within a more romantic vibe I'm kind of getting, or a new friendship that you're building on right now with someone, wanting to plant a new friendship. And you're wanting to plant it from a place where someone who really understands you versus someone that's trying to push you or peer pressure you into something, which maybe you've always had in the past. And having belladonna here as well is something that you've been previously harvesting. Belladonna also talks about the idea of harvesting the like being able to rely on another person, or being able to understand when to cut certain people out and when you can trust another person. So you're learning how to trust yourself, and you're also starting to harvest the idea of who you can trust in your family, in your friends, and who is actually here for you versus kind of pressuring you into things and being kind of like, you know, rotten out your brain kind of feeling. So that's what I'm getting here, is just this youthful new energy on its way in, either because someone else is making you feel quite youthful because they're bringing that element forward, whatever it is. But we have eternal youth here, the number 11, with the page of elixirs. And the page, like I said, can represent a new person on their way in, or just in general really connecting back to yourself, your inner child even. And like this playful creative energy as well, this exploration, and lots of play, like sacred play, like whatever that is for you, and planting that into your life. So maybe you were told you as a kid you couldn't do this thing, and you're now as an adult like, you know what, I'm gonna go and do that thing. I was told I couldn't, you know, play video games. Now I'm gonna play video games. That's just the one that's in my mind. Maybe it was reading books, maybe it was playing in the mud, maybe it was, I don't know whatever it was that you were told off. You're able to do that now and trust yourself and enjoy that now. So there's something about that too, planting in that way of enjoying something you didn't get in the past and now you can have. But let's look a little further here on belladonna now and see what that knotted up feeling is, and possibly where maybe you could unknot it moving forward. Let's see a little bit more with belladonna and what you are harvesting here, group 3. And as always, feel free to send your energy in. It does make a difference. I swear every time I say difference, it'll fly out. I almost need to make like a compilation of the amount of times that's happened. We have the 4 of rods here, and I just see like this like screw happening here. Like it almost feels like, again, things are knotted up and like screwed together and sort of like more complicated and more complex because of the things that you have been growing. But I do think that you also have gained, even though you had to go through a lot. Like I feel like you, like I said, were trying to do so many things and harvest so much this go around, that you actually have gained a lot more confidence in your skills to be able to withstand that amount of pressure. Not that you have to have that amount of pressure all the time, but there is something about knowing yourself and knowing that you can get through that and that you have the ability to take on that much. So that could be coming through. So there is a bit of like a celebration in yourself in that way, and like, heck yeah, I did that, you know. So let's see what the other card is that's showing up here with belladonna. Belladonna. Just fun to say, isn't it? So group 3, one more card here on what you're harvesting. And what it says here is so we have another 4. Interesting that you're moving from like 4 and 4 happening over here, and then 4. So 444 is showing up here a lot for you, and the idea that the 4 representing feeling more secure. And so this is something that you're feeling more secure in yourself about. And something else that you're feeling more secure in yourself is sort of noticing the toxic people in your life, or noticing where there are people who are pressuring you or pushing you into a wall or into a place that you no longer agree with. It could be people in your life who, just like I said, are peer pressuring you, or it could be people in your life who are, or even yourself, who are, you know, placing an ideal or an unrealistic standard on you that you no longer agree with. because we have things like cyanide and morphine and, arsenic and those things. So, like, those are not great things to be around, right? So this is about kind of moving away from that and having the inner knowing to know where to kind of cut those people off, as you can see with belladonna, and the idea of sort of cutting something off from the source, so it doesn't continue to build up these knots for you and continue to bloom in your life where you don't wish it to bloom. So with that said, I want to pull 2 more cards on each side, or 1 card each, here with the Secret Garden Oracle. And before I do, though, definitely feel free to give this video a like if it's been resonating so far, if you're finding and driving with it, if it's been useful to you in some way. It really does help the channel, so thank you. And after this, we'll be pulling 1 more card here in the center and some charms, so stay tuned for those. So let's see here. Okay, already, immediately we have opportunity showing up here, but let's look also for one over here for the belladonna side of harvest. Okay, we actually have 2. So we'll see what that's about. Interesting. So we have opportunity first off. It says, there is no use looking for luck. It arrives at unexpected times, which is so true, right? And we have these little 4-leaf clovers, and it just makes me think like you just notice it or happen upon it. So there is a lot of luck and opportunity here, and it's definitely showcasing, like I said, this is good timing right now to start whatever you're doing, because you know when it is the right time. Wisteria will wait to grow when the opportunity arises for it to grow best. So you are going to know when that time is for you. And I think that means when you're feeling that like sort of pull in your stomach, and maybe you feel a little nervous about it, but you're feeling really pulled to do the thing that you're going to do over here and plant, then this is the time to do it. And this is the time to kind of put your foot down and really trust yourself and trust your own growth. So I see that here, like I said, that childlike play, that opportunity to maybe reconnect with a inner child, reconnect with a child of your own. There could even be that as an opportunity for you if that's something you are interested in. But like I said, you're going to know when the time is ripe, and it's going to be like, when you aren't looking for it, that's when you're going to be like, this is the time. So let's see the belladonna side of harvest. We have, I almost was like share joy or joy share. So there's the idea of sharing your joy as well throughout this harvest. Makes me think of like when people get together for a meal to kind of be show gratitude towards one another. So personally, I don't really love the idea of Thanksgiving anymore, or really ever, but you could just have like a party or some sort of dinner to showcase gratitude towards those you love in some way, and everyone coming together in that really beautiful, humble way. Maybe that could be something that would be useful to you, but it does say make time for the little things today, for joy. And over here on share, it says the busy bee should still make time for each flower. And just in case this resonates for you, personally, bees resonate with my mom, and for Ladybug, she would always call me Katybug, although I don't go by Katie now, but the idea of Katybug. So maybe for some of you, you're feeling a message as well relating to the specific bugs that are showing up here, and maybe a mother-daughter relationship, or a parent and sibling, or sorry, not parent and sibling, a parent and child dynamic, something on that line, or a mentor student kind of moment, whatever it is, some sort of full circle there in learning and growing, and maybe wanting to share that joy with them in some way, wanting to send a card to an old mentor, an old teacher, sending gratitude in general, and maybe that's where you might be harvesting gratitude, not only for yourself but for others as well in your life who made you or helped you get there, and the people who actually celebrated you versus sort of had a standard of you, and now being able to differentiate the two. So we're going to pull your final card here, and then we will do your charms to finish off your reading. But we're going to pull 1 central card, or 2, depending on how many show up, of advice from Spirit. So this could be a spirit guide, angel, gods, goddesses, goddesses. It could be the universe, the cards themselves, the higher self, however you see it. But we're going to go ahead and look into a message from them. So feel free to send their energy through, or ask that question of advice from them for what you are planting and harvesting at this time. Okay, it's too many cards. So I'm just going to take the top one there. also felt this one. So what we have here showing up, I don't usually read reversals, but in case that's showing up for you, they are this specific direction. But I'll turn this around so you can see it. We have the Six of Cups showing up, which is about sort of nostalgia and childhood, and also giving back that mentor. It's usually like an older sibling and a younger sibling, so the idea of like giving information, experience, knowledge, wisdom to someone. So again, you maybe are wanting to give that experience to someone in your life, a younger person in your life, and that's maybe that new opportunity that you're moving into, or just nurturing the inner child of yourself because you've been able to see the joy and love come back through in that full circle moment of a mentor sort of relationship there. Some sort of dynamic of someone older and younger, or an experiential difference. And I get that from the Ace of Swords here because it usually represents logic or communication in some way. So wanting to communicate. So what they're telling you is to communicate with your inner child, communicate with someone who is younger than you that you want to be able to pass on experience to, or just someone who doesn't have that much experience. They could be older than you. But there is this wanting to share and communicate either gratitude or new information through some sort of advice showing up here, and some sort of opportunity on its way in, that maybe you'll just run into an old teacher at like the grocery store, or maybe you'll run into your mom that you haven't seen for a while, or maybe you'll just, like I said, it's almost an unexpected opportunity that once it's presented to you, you get to decide if they are worthy of like your time and energy. But if they are, then I feel like you want to like pass on a story or experience or invite them over or something like that. It's an unexpected opportunity, but one that I think would be really useful to you. So we're going to finish off with your charms as always, so feel free to send your energy in through time and space here, and we will look into the charms coming through for you for what you are harvesting and planting here, group 3. Okay. Ooh, okay. Let's go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer. So right here in the very center, we have the, I always see this as like a little, what are those called? Not palm stones, like those stress stones, whatever they are, rubbing stones. They're the stones that you like hold to let go of stress and to kind of calm you down, that you can just sort of rub with your thumb. So that's what it always kind of reminds me of. And so there could be just something that's going to be kind of communicated in sort of like, it almost makes me think of like someone like rubbing something clean, cleaning something up, clearing something up with someone in a way that feels more calming. It also just could be that reconnecting with your inner child, or reconnecting with this space of that younger eternal youth feeling. Can also just kind of spice things back up for you, and kind of also maybe calm you down. Could go either way. We have the number 13 showing up here on the skull that I talked about earlier, that felt very like cracked and broken, or like it was coming from a place that is sort of rotted out for you. And with the number 13 showing up upside down, 13 usually representing the death card. So again, this is sort of a good thing. It's needing to let someone go, needing to push something away. And I'm not saying that that is easy. It's not easy. But there might be someone you just need to put up some really nice boundaries, some walls with, someone you need to either have a very neat and clean conversation with, because they have kind of stunted your growth, or trying to stunt your growth and your opportunities moving forward. Kind of trying to take your joy or put these really intense standards on you. Alongside these new opportunities that are starting to sing into your life, maybe something that will reconnect you to your inner child, or reconnect you to this space that you're growing here, is music in some way, or some sort of melody. It could be music, it could be rhythm, it could be dancing, creative hobbies, but that's what's showing up here as an opportunity as well. The aces do represent opportunities, so that's how you could reconnect with your inner child, with a sibling, with a mentor, or to be a mentor might be through music in some way, or through a creative hobby. And then lastly here, next to that opportunity, we have the foot charm, which it doesn't ever show up on camera, but it always looks like, those little wooden foots that you would like make shoes with, like back in the day. That's what it always kind of looks like to me, and feels like, is like a foot. So it's kind of putting your best foot forward, and that there's a lot of opportunity for this new thing to actually come to fruition and plant for you. So you're being encouraged to play, to dance, to move, to do something new, whether someone has a standard or a pressure on you, to do it anyway, to do it for you, and to enjoy and share the joy in your life and the gratitude in your life to those who deserve it. So that is the entirety of your reading here. I hope you found it useful and you enjoyed it and found something that you could excavate from it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if it resonated, and if you maybe watched the previous one from the last equinox and maybe how they resonated here together. It would be really interesting to see how they might have shifted or changed. Also, definitely be sure to give this video a like, as I mentioned, and if you'd like to see the other videos that I have on this channel and the ones that I talked about earlier with the last equinox video, then feel free to subscribe, as I put out new videos every single Monday for all different types of things to help you grow, to help you understand yourself better, to truly empower you, because I always want to leave you with some really useful advice. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to continue to grow here along with me as we co-create these readings, then definitely feel free to subscribe. You can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below, as it's a great way to support this channel a little bit more, to give a little bit more cushion, and also to help me get new decks and supplies for this space to uplift these readings for you all. You can also check out my Instagram community down below to seek out the different other opportunities to support this space and support you through the snail mail readings that I do. I only have one left available for this month. You can also check out ones for October, and the Mabon spell and ritual paper out for the autumn equinox. This is the perfect time to step on and seek out these different papers, as I hand make them myself. I create them around the equinox, the fall energy over here in the northern hemisphere. And I've personally been using these in my own magic for like altar pieces, for gratitude magic and other fun things. And I've already seen so many changes coming through. Like, honestly, they've been blowing my own mind, and I made them. So definitely feel free to check them out down below in the description and on my Instagram to seek out those, as I only have a few sets left available, and they'd be great to send to a witchy friend or to use yourself. So definitely feel free to check those out down below, and everything else. And thank you so much for joining me here today. I have so much gratitude towards you all. You help me learn so much throughout these readings and to understand you all so much better. And in general, I just am very happy to have you here. So just sending out a little bit of gratitude here today. Thank you for checking out these videos and sticking with this channel and helping yourself through them. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.